So today we are going to be doing multiplication of integers, and our example here is 2,893 times 124. And we have it written out here in block form, and as you can see today, as we work through our problem, we are going to take it just place value by place value. So first let's remind ourselves of what the definition of multiplication is. And that is groups of the same size, bringing them together and finding a final total of that answer. So as you can see here, we have groups, and to break it down a little bit, we have here our group of 4 to represent that ones column, our group of 20 to represent that tens column, and our group of 100 to represent our 124 being multiplied 2,000 by 2,893. And so all in all, in our block form here, we have 124 groups of 2,893. What we'll be doing is looking at place value by place value. And what we want to do first is look at our groups of 4 over here. Because what we do in our numerical expression here is take our farthest to the right. So we're going to go ahead and do 4 times 3, which is 12. Carry that 1. And over here, we are looking at our 4 groups of 3. And if we were to add all those groups up, it would give us 12. So because we carried that 1 over here, we are able to bring out 2 of our singles and bring them down here. So because we brought down these 2 singles down here, which represents our 1 being carried in our numerical expression, we are going to regroup 10 of our singles, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, cross these out and regroup them to give us another rod. And if you look over here, that's exactly what we did, because taking our 3 times 4 got us 12, carrying that 1, and as we did over here, bringing those 2 singles down, carrying that, and regrouping the leftover of our singles. Look at our 9 times 4. And by doing this, we can't forget about that 1, so 9 times 4 giving us 36 plus 1 is 37. And over here you can see we are looking at our 4 groups of 9 rods. And because that 1 is not being multiplied, it is because there were not enough groups, and we already previously carried it into regrouping into a new rod. So therefore, we are just adding that along with our 4 groups of 9 rods instead of multiplying, because we had already regrouped previously, giving us 37 in total if we counted our 4 groups. And so looking at the 37, now what we got to do here is regroup. So we are taking essentially 30 rods and bringing them over to our next place value, which gives us 3 more flats, giving us that 7 left over, and that's where the 7 comes from, carrying the 3 as we did up here. And as you can see, we are regrouping our 30 rods into 3 flats, essentially carrying that 3 into our flat category, as we did over here, carrying that 3. So that's where that comes from. Now we are going to be taking our 8 times 4, which is 32, adding that 3, which is 35. And over here, as you can see, we have our 4 groups of 8 flats. However, we need to regroup that as well, taking 30 of our flats and regrouping into 3 supercubes, just like we are carrying that 3 over here. So we're going to go ahead and do the same and regroup and carry our 30 flats into 3 supercubes. Now we're going to be looking at our last place value here, which is 4 times 2, giving us 8, plus 3 is 11. And over here, that focuses on our 4 groups of 2 supercubes. With those additional 3, like we did over here with that 3 on top, and that's where we got the 11. Because we brought down that 11 here, we are going to need to regroup into 1 super rod, and we are also going to need to write those down here. So we're taking that 1, making that into a super rod down here, taking our 7 regular rods, and then our 5 flats, and then our other 1 super cube. So down here we have just what we have up there. 2 singles, 7 rods, 5 flats, 1 super cube, and then 1 super rod, because we had initially regrouped from our super cubes. So now that we have accounted for all of our groups of 4, our 4 groups of all these certain numbers, we are able to successfully count off these numbers here, count off that 4, because we've already accounted all of our groups of 4 up here, meaning that we are no longer using our regroups up here. And so now we are looking at our tens place, which is our 2. And so down here we are able to write down a 0, because we aren't looking at our ones place now, we're looking at our tens place. Now, since we're focusing on our tens place, we are looking at our groups of 20. But what we're actually going to do to make this a bit easier is split this in half, giving us 2 groups of 10. So now what we can easily know that we can do right away is look at our 10 groups of 3 singles within each of our groups and regroup those to 3 rods. And I'll show you why we did that in a second. So we are going to take our 10 groups of 3 singles, regrouping them to 3 new rods. We're going to do that for the same group right down here, taking these, making them 3 rods, and now we have accounted for all of our singles. And because we don't have any singles left, that is where our 0 came from, because we aren't working with singles. We're working with our 2 groups of 3, as we displayed here, regrouping them into rods. So we can go ahead over here and take our 2 times 3, giving us 6. And now that we have our 6, well, where we got that was from our rods that we regrouped our singles into, giving us a total of 6 new rods. And so now we can write that down here. Okay, and then moving on, we are now able to look at our 2 times 9, giving us 18. Don't forget to carry that 1 on top of here, on top of the crossed out numbers that we've already accounted for. And over here, that's where our 2 groups of 9 rods come into play. But we are going to regroup 10 of those rods. And making them into 1 flat. And so then we had 8 total rods left over, noticing that that's where our 8 come from, and we carried that 1 because we regrouped our 10 rods into 1 flat. So now that we have our 8 flat